Painting your 3D prints is not hard. You're just probably doing it the wrong way. Today I'll show you the shortcut that we use here inside STLFlix to paint dozens of models every single week. It's a fast and accurate process that will make your prints look better and even more expensive. And if you have a tablet, stay until the end of this video because I'm gonna show you the ultimate trick that is gonna change completely the way you do it. Before I start, drop a like in the video and pay attention because these are gonna be golden rules for you. So what do you think about printing in multicolor? Right now, even though there are a lot of models that are already multicolor when you look online, due to the fact that multicolor printing has not been with us for very long, there are a lot of vogue models that are not multicolor already. And if you think about the models that you generate with AI, these models are still with a single color. But that does not mean that you should print it that way. So if up until today, you would decline printing those models because you would have to paint it yourself and you think you don't have the artistic skill or you don't know how to do it, don't worry. It's actually much simpler than you'd expect and you don't need to have an artistic skill in order to do it well. All right? Let's jump in and I'll show you how. Alright, so the model I picked for this tutorial is a mini flexi that I have generated using STLAI. Let me go to Bambu Studio and it's a little Santa Claus that I decided to make a mini flexi off of it. I like the result and now it's time to paint it. And when you look at a model like that, it almost feels like the modeling is not that good. But after we apply the paint, you're gonna see how well detailed this model actually is. So let's start. So I'm gonna click the model and I'm gonna go directly into the color painting process. I've already selected the 4 colors that I will be using. White for the beard, red because most of the outfit is red, and the white skin tone. All right. So the first thing that I want to show you, which is a simple trick, and yet not a lot of people know about it. If you want to paint large areas, you do not need to paint them by hand. You can use the fill. So if you go on fill and then you go on edge detection, you can go in and you can paint and it's going to detect where the edge is and you're going to paint a portion of it. But as you can see, this is not going to solve your problems in the majority of the cases. So that's hardly where I start, because there is another trick here that makes the edge, that if you combine with the edge detection, makes it super good. Let me show you. Whenever you design a small area, a small region like that, this becomes your new edge. So once you go in the fill and then you color it in, it's gonna stay inside this little area. And it's even better because if I want to change the color, it's easy because I have the edge detection right here. So this is what we will be using to create big areas, big sections that then we will be using to paint our model. All right, so let me grab the circle, and what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to highlight the entire area where I have the furry part of the Santa's hat. I'm gonna go in and I'm going to paint all the external region. One thing that is super important when we're doing that is that you need to get your camera angles at the right angle so you don't have bleeding on surfaces that you don't want to have the bleeding. So what you want to see is actually the edge, is actually the line that you want to transition to. So this is going to be particularly important on a few areas that I think we're gonna see in a bit. All right, and I'm gonna paint the outline of this furry part of Santa's hat. Okay, now that I have painted the entire outline, look what happens when I go on fill and I reduce the smart fill angle, or actually increase the smart fill angle quite a bit. I'm gonna grab the entire section. So by doing that, I've already created the furry part all at once. I can still come in and adjust some of the minor details that I might have left. There are some bleedings in here that I would like to fix. No worries, then you can go ahead and fine-tune it, but it's gonna take a lot less time because the hard part you would have done already. And by highlighting this part, automatically I've already highlighted the head section. So look, by doing just a few lines, I already painted probably half of the head of my Santa Claus. All right, now let's go ahead and paint the beard. So for the beard, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm going to paint the outline of the beard and that will be it. So going ahead, paying all attention to the details. If you need to decrease the size of your pen, do that, but then automatically go back to the bigger size. You don't need to use super small sizes. There's a lot of large sections that you can paint using the big stroke. All right, so look right here, I can reduce the pen size, do the outline, no worries, and then in here again. Okay, I've painted. Now I'm gonna go here and I'm going to adjust a few small bleedings that I have. that I want to change and I want to adjust. All right, I guess this is done for the most part. Now I do have to paint the edge in here because the edge currently is all on the skin tone, and this is going to bleed when I paint, when I use the smart edge. All right, so let me go ahead and paint the entire beard edge. All right, so I've painted the entire edge. I think there are no bleedings anymore. Now I can go ahead on fill again, increase the fill angle and paint it. And now, as you can see, we have the beard entirely painted. And look, I've used, I think, no less than 5 minutes so far. And I've painted the hardest part of the model already, which is the face, the one that we have more details. All right, so this is done. I want to get a little bit of red in this mouth, and I think this one I can do with the smart edge. No, not a lot of tricks needed. There you go. Got a little bit of red. There were a few pixels missing. Just gonna go in and paint those fill pixels. Let me see if I can paint red on the top of the mouth. Yes. All right, this part is done. Now let's go for the eyes. For the eyes, usually you can do with the fill very easily because the edges are very sharp. So it's gonna be easy for you to do it all at once. Eyebrows, sometimes you can use a smart fill angle. These ones, as you can see, they are very protruded, but they're not super defined, but it worked. So I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna paint the edges a little bit better, but for the most part the smart fill worked and it's done. Okay, the head is almost done, and now there's a trick that I like a lot in here, which is the way to do eyes very well. So what I do is I get a circle that is slightly bigger than the height of the eyes, kind of like that. All right, and then I'm going to use all at once like a stamp. All right, and then I'm gonna do it on both eyes, making sure that they don't look that they are facing the right direction. All right, like that, so that he's not cross-sided. Then I can come in and paint the little details. These details I could use the fill, but there are fill pixels that are left. Erase. Let's do it with the brush. Okay, let's do it on both sides. And just so you know, I'm using a mouse. All right, so I'm using a regular mouse right here. I'm not using any pens or anything. I'm just using the mouse. Okay, and then for the highlights, you're also gonna click. I'm gonna use the white, and you're also gonna get a pen size that is about that. If you, I don't know, I guess if you divide it by 4, it would be tangent to like the side. That would be tangent to the lines in the center. So you can do both at the same quadrant. So because whenever you do highlights of the eyes, the light comes from the same side. So the highlight on the eyes, they're gonna come from the same side as well. So it's important that you do that when you are painting as well, right? So now we did the hardest part, which is the head. And then you're gonna use pretty much the same technique for the rest of the model. Nothing changes. But instead of doing with the mouse, now I'm going to transition and I'm gonna use my iPad. All right, so now I'm gonna transition to the pen and I'm gonna paint the rest of the model using the Apple Pencil. But I'm also gonna be keeping using my mouse because it helps me to navigate the models a little bit. So it's a combination of both what we'll be doing. So in here I'm gonna use pretty much the same technique. I'm gonna create the outlines and then I'm gonna paint on the inside. But with the pen, it gets a little bit easier. So let me rotate, find the right position, and then I'm gonna go ahead and create the outline. It's going to be much easier using the pen. What you should avoid is doing very long strokes, because the more you paint, whenever you do something wrong and you had to Command Z, you lose a lot of paint. So try to do small strokes and go a bit by bit, all right? So in here, it's always important to use the mouse to navigate. It is a little bit better because we are streaming, so the touch functions that we have on the iPad, we do not have in here, all right? So very important to navigate, find the proper place, and then go ahead and paint it. Okay, so this one is done. I can come in and get rid of the bleedings. Get rid of it, all right. Go ahead, pick the fill, increase the fill angle as much as you can. All right, so this one's done, super easy. Let's do the same with the one in the middle. Actually, I'm gonna paint the belt here. Okay, so now let's paint the middle section. Proper tool. To paint using the pen is pretty much the same technique, but it's a little bit easier. What I usually do is I highlight the outlines and then I use the paint bucket to fill the areas. Sometimes what I also do is to paint the entire thing using the pen because it's not that complicated. You can paint larger areas faster and with more precision than you can with a mouse, obviously. So overall, using the pen is a great technique. It's a good thing to do, and if you have the possibility, I highly recommend you to do. Also because it makes it a much more pleasurable experience. Some things might seem complicated looking, but I swear to you, it's actually much simpler to do once you are doing it. And the good thing is that once the model is painted, well, there's nothing else that you need to do. All you gotta do is print it over and over and over, and it's gonna be your colored model for as much as you want. So there you have it, generated with AI, painted by hand, and now you see that this model has come to life. It now has many more details than it would if it was only a single color, dull and boring model. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave in the comments what you'd like to know about painting, about generating models with AI, about STLFlix, about whatever you want, and we will be here answering your questions and creating more interesting content based on your feedback as well. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and bye.